What's up, YouTube? It's Aerith, your favorite preservation evoker, and today I'm bringing you a guide on probably the hardest boss in the Mythic Plus Season 1 of Dragonflight Dungeon Pool, and that is, of course, Hyrja from the Halls of Valor. She is an absolute nightmare when you are learning the class, and she's an absolute nightmare once you know the class. It's a very terrifying boss, but you can actually make it quite easy with a few simple tricks that I'm going to give you. I'm going to show you my rotation. There are, of course, other ways to do it. There are many ways to make this work. But I'm going to show you what I do. I'm going to give you a little bit of methodology into how you can plan for these damage events. They are very painful damage events and what to do in between them. Before we get into that, though, make sure that you are subscribed to my YouTube and make sure that you're following me over on Twitch. I'm probably streaming right now because I have no life and I stream 24/7. You can find me at twitch.tv/eylashtv. I hope to see you there and get a chance to meet you. Without further ado, though, let's talk about Hyrja. I know that's what you guys want to do. So this was a 25 I did earlier today. It is tyrannical. First things first, before the boss even spawns, I like to send out a temporal anomaly so that I start the fight with not only an echo reversion on lots of party members, but also with a temporal anomaly available. It's just a nice little hack that you can do once this boss dies. Go ahead and send out the TA, and then you can just kind of sit on those echoes for as long as you need to, and then cash them in when you pull. So first things first, you want to make sure you have lust for this boss. It is a very terrifying boss, and you're definitely going to want it. So in this particular comp, the first thing you might notice is that we actually have access to quite a few defensive abilities. Whenever you're planning on doing a Halls of Valor and engaging in combat with Hyrja, you want to first take stock of everything that your group can do. And then perhaps in the Discord call before we begin, you can assign where everyone is going to put their various cooldowns. In this particular fight, I have access to not only a Rally, but also an AMZ, a Vampiric Embrace, and of course the Cloak of Shadows from the Rogue, the Dispersion from the Priest, and a Warrior is just a Warrior, they're never going to die. So knowing this, I also have my Stasis, I have my Emerald Communion Ramp, I have my Zephyr. So the first thing you want to do is think about where you're going to put all of these things. You could think of this fight as a bit of a puzzle when you are allocating the cooldowns. In a 25, I knew going into it, I'm going to get 4 storms. I know this from experience. However, in anything lower than a 24 included, you're only going to get 3 storms. And so you should plan your cooldowns for 3 storms. In a 25, though, I did plan my cooldowns for 4 storms, simply because that is what I knew was going to happen. The way that I chose to plan my cooldowns for this one, I thought about it long and hard. I decided I'm getting 2 uses of Rally because it is a 3-minute cooldown. So I can put the first use on the first storm and the last use on the last storm. I decided also I would put Stasis and Vampiric Embrace together. I would put those on the first and the third. And then I would put Zephyr alongside AMZ and Rewind for the second. Rally alongside AMZ and Zephyr for the fourth. All of these things are very, very nice to have, but they are not necessary. I've healed this fight a number of times without access to all of these things. And most typically, you're going to have access to only one of them. For the most part, I think this season, I'm looking at having access to like a Vampiric Embrace and a Rally. Typically just the Rally. And when that is the case, what I choose to do looks something like this. On 1, I will go Stasis, plus Zephyr. On 2, I will go Rally, Rewind, Emerald Communion. And on 3, I will go Stasis and Zephyr. The reason I like to do it this way is because Zephyr and Stasis just pair very, very nicely together. Zephyr actually gets the entire duration of the storm for the most part. And Stasis is also just very powerful. It kind of carries on its own. And then number 2 is incredibly safe with Rally, Rewind, and Emerald Communion. There are definitely times, like for instance, if I have a Shadow Priest, like I will always do it this way because you can put, for instance, the Shadow Priest Vampiric Embrace on 1 and 3 as well. But yeah, the first thing you need to do is plan this fight out. This is definitely a fight that you want to make an ERT note for, potentially. As you can see on my screen here, I do have an ERT note, and I just listed everything out. This allows me to call everything. I'd actually like to play through this fight with comms at the very end, after we kind of talk about some of the combos that I like to use, so that you can hear the way that I talk to my team. I think one of the most important things about being a successful healer on a fight like Hyrja is good communication and being able to tell your team exactly what you need from them when you need it and making sure that they actually do it. So another thing that I want to note on that subject before we get into the actual nitty gritty of what I'm doing is that when I go into this fight, I also make sure that each member of my team has a very very specified plan for themselves, a specific plan for themselves to live. So this looks different for every single player. In the case of the Shadow Priest, what I ask them to do is you're going to fade as soon as Storm starts, and you're going to press Desperate Prayer on 1 and 3. And this is the priest. This is what the priest can do. The Desperate Prayer pairs very nicely with 1 and 3 if you're only getting 3 storms, because the Rally, Rewind, Emerald Communion is like really overkill and no one's ever going to die when you're putting all of these cooldowns on it. Um, so putting anyone who has like a 2-minute or like a 1.5-minute, putting that on 1 and 3 is a really good idea. So to this same effect, I will tell the rogue, hey, so this is the rogue's plan. I will say, hey rogue, here's what I want you to do. I want you to feint the beginning of storms 1 and 3, and as soon as feint ends, I would like for you to cloak. And you can do this for 1 and 3. And for the one that you do not have cloak, I want you to save until the 50% point of the storm, and then I want you to feint. This feint is only going to last for half of the duration of a storm. And that can be your rogue's plan. When we look at the warrior, we can say, hey warrior, just be a warrior. You're never gonna die. I mean, no, you tell the warrior, say wall on 1 and 3, and make sure that you use your victory rush heal on all 3 of them. So this is gonna be something that is different for every single player. If you have a very good idea of what people's defensives do, then it will be very easy for you to make these kinds of plans. If you do not know what other people's defensives do, it can be a little bit of a challenge. That said, you can ask your teammates, like, hey, what are your defensives? Like, what do they do? And then once you have an idea of what they do, what their cooldowns are, you can better understand how to allocate them so that you can be successful. Now, when you lay out a plan like this, you also have to keep in mind that everyone is not going to execute it perfectly. DPS, especially in mid to lower elos, don't necessarily know how to play their defenses very well. And that is definitely a place where I would say that you separate some of the strong players from some of the weak players whose defensive play is incredibly good. I think that's probably the most important thing that you can have in your toolkit as a DPS, outside of simply doing lots and lots of damage. But it is definitely something a lot of people lack in, and so you can't always expect for things to go off right. That said, if you do tell them what to do before the key starts, and then when you get to the boss, you remind them what to do, they are much more likely to listen to you, and you're maybe going to get at least 70% of what you would like to happen, and that's going to make your life a lot easier. So that said, we lay all this out, and we lay out all of this plan, and this is what we assume is going to happen. Again, this is what I would do for 1 and 3. So let's go ahead and get into the nitty gritty of exactly what this fight looks like. So first things first, you can send out a fully charged fire breath before Hyrja starts her storm. We're gonna send TA off cooldown. We've already sent a TA, and we've already sent a TA, put our reversions on everyone, and sent another TA out, so everyone has an absorb shield. And right as the storm starts, I'm gonna go ahead and cash in on the TA. I'm going to go into a stasis, just instantly Verdant Embrace myself, immediately Dream Breath, and start channeling a Spirit Bloom. As soon as that Spirit Bloom pops or gets to full, I release it. And then I will immediately release that stasis, send out a TA, and instantly cash in that TA. You can cash out the TA for all kinds of things. In this particular moment, I had a Leaping Flames buff, so I chose to Living Flame myself, I believe. Let's double check on that. I do have a 4-set proc. You can cash it in for honestly any number of things. I mean, you can cash it in for reversions. Looks like I did cash it in for reversions there. And that is totally fine as well. So that's kind of what I do for the first storm regardless. Typically speaking, if I am doing a 24 or lower, I will also Zephyr here and expect the rally on number 2. The way that you want to Zephyr this is you want to immediately, the storm starts, instantly Zephyr, instantly Verdant Embrace, instantly go into stasis, instantly Verdant Embrace yourself, send out a Dream Breath, usually on 1 or 2, and then start channeling that Spirit Bloom, and then release it, and then, yeah, everything will be kind of chill from there. Because I had a VE, I chose to delay its and we just had Rally, Stasis, and PE for that first one. 25 does hurt quite a lot. So for the in-between healing, you're trying to avoid as best you can using your 30-second abilities. This includes Spirit Bloom and Dream Breath because you want to save these for the storms. So you're trying to do your best to basically get by using Echo Reversions, using 4-set procs. You're trying to maintain as high uptime as you possibly can of Echo Reversions. And of course, you want to deal as much damage as you can to the boss. There we go. So this is maybe a slight mistake. The tank did not ask for time dilation. However, time dilation does line up perfectly with the Hyrja Blast every single time. So you can give your tank a time dilation for every blast on one particular side. So you can give it to them on the side where they're channeling the storms, and then while they get knocked over to the balls, or you can give it to them on the ball side while they're getting knocked over to the storms. And so here we come for the second one. In this particular instance, I know that I am going to Zephyr and Rewind. And I think I actually choose to Emerald Communion as well. So here, this one is a little bit freestyle. So what we want to do here is we want to Zephyr. And of course, obviously, we're going to send out a TA. We're going to refresh all of our reversions. And in this particular instance, I do choose to use the Tip the Scales to instantly top us on that first tick. And I'm basically looking to delay as much as possible sending the rewind. Here I actually send the rewind pretty early. And then I just start using some of my filler abilities to kind of coast out the rest of the damage. That's kind of just good enough as it stands between the Zephyr, the rewind, and everything that we had planned there in the AMZ. It's kind of just good enough. That said, if you're only getting 3, you do not have access to an AMZ. Again, I would probably Rally, Rewind, and Emerald Communion here. And I'll show you how the Emerald Communion ramp looks going into that on this next one. And so here we go, lots more filler spells. I do choose to Dream Breath. I think in the moment I was like, I'm not sure if this was a good idea. Like I might come to regret this. I didn't even get everyone with the Dream Breath because we were so spread. But I think it actually works out pretty well here. So again, just using lots of my filler abilities here, trying to avoid using the big things, especially as we start getting over to this side again. And here we go. So here's the way that you do the temporal anomaly. I'm sorry, the Verdant Embrace into Emerald Communion ramp. So we send out a temporal anomaly. We're going to get into the bubble, of course. We are going to immediately Verdant Embrace to cash in on all of those echoes, and go into an Emerald Communion. We are then going to go into Dream Breath and Spirit Bloom. So let's see what that looks like one more time. So here we go. Send out a temporal anomaly. We Zephyr, we Verdant Embrace, and we go into Emerald Communion. Actually end up health potting here because of the volcanic knocking me off of my power spell is a little bit troll. And that's kind of just good enough. So the way that you'll want to do this, if you're only getting 3 and you know you're only getting 3, is to go Temporal Anomaly. And this would be, you would use this on the second one, and you go Call for the Rally. You would go Temporal Anomaly into Verdant Embrace, into Emerald Communion. And as soon as the Emerald Communion ends, you can rewind. And everyone will be very, very safe. Again, this is the plan I recommend that you go with for only getting 3. Because we're getting 4, my timings are a little bit different. And here we'll get more filler spells. And then we're going to get one more. Here we have a Rally and an AMZ and a Vampiric Embrace. We have actually quite a lot on this one, I believe. I'm sorry, we actually Vampiric Embrace the last one. So here to tell my team, go ahead and empty the bag. I Spirit Bloom. I send all my defensives. And I kind of just start slamming filler buttons off cooldown. We have a Zephyr there. We have a Rally there. Everything is going very, very smoothly. And there you have it. We kind of just chill from there. We actually end up doing this key once more today, also in a 24. But yeah, the boss was pretty chill. So one other thing that I did want to note on the subject of Hyrja is communication. The way that you can talk to your team. And I want to actually play this through with comms, start to finish, so you can hear the way that I talk to my team. This is of course a pug. I do not play with these people regularly. It's just a group of players that I found in LFG, and I got them in comms, and so we decided to play together. Let's see if we can actually turn up the comms if you guys are able to hear.
I will get first after the Sanctify. If those are real.
Alright, so Rally and VE on 1, AMZ on 2, VE on 3, Rally and AMZ on 4. So here you can hear me telling my team exactly what they're going to do, making sure that they remember.
I close the first one.
And that is what it looks like in real time. But not bad.
Be gone from these hallowed halls! No?
Might be a bit quiet. I'm not sure how loudly you're able to hear the comms. Hopefully they are good enough for the VOD. And of course using our filler spells, just kind of vibing.
Okay.
No, that was my bulwark. Oh god.
MZ.
See, he's put down the AMZ. There's no need to remind him. I think one of the big things to note too is like the start of this key, like before we put this key in, we talked about Hyrja for quite a long time. I mean, we just sat there and harped on Hyrja, what everyone's doing, where I want everyone's defensives. As I mentioned in this chart, I gave the priest a very good outline for like what they want to do with their defensives. I gave the rogue a very good outline for what to do with his defensives. I did the same for the warrior, and that is definitely something that you always want to do. These players are actually very good. They use their defensives really well. I don't think anyone actually missed anything, so like the fight kind of just went off without a hitch. And here I see the Vampiric Embrace go off immediately.
Swirl.
Yeah, that potion was quite a potion. Very terrified there.
Here's 4, 3.
Alright, this next one is everything. We'll have Rally, AMZ. What would me with for? Hey, and just reminding my team, hey, on this next one, we're sending everything. This is Rally and AMZ. I'll let them know I do not have Zephyr. This is like one of the scariest things. One other little tip that you can definitely keep in mind is that it's definitely pretty strong to use your defensives on the actual golden circles at times, because you can get arcing bolted and just die. Potions, everything. Reminding my team they have health potions. We get the rally, we get the AMZ, everything looks good. Very easy. She's not even trying, I don't think. A little bit of boasting. It's a very easy boss.
Yep.
She's not even trying. Boss. You got a bad chest a little bit.
Oh, I am behind.
With a slow,
You got a bad chest just a little bit. So that's pretty much it. Again, just to kind of reiterate some of what we talked about. big things with this boss are, again, talking to your teammates before the key starts, laying out a plan for them, making sure they know what they're doing with their defensives, making sure you know what you are doing with your defensives. And once again, if you want a very solid plan for what to do in a 24 or lower, I would definitely follow this outline. Stasis, Zephyr, Stasis plus Zephyr on 1, Rally, Rewind, Emerald Communion on 2, Stasis, Zephyr on 3. Using this plan, it's very, very hard to lose. You can also do some other interesting things with your Stasis. But again, I think the most important thing is just having a Spirit Bloom in there. It is paired with Zephyr after all, so you're probably pretty much just good like that. And then the second one is like honestly safer with Rewind and Emerald Communion, and a Rally on top of it. Altogether, like this plan here will pretty much get you through anything 24 or less, as long as you execute the plan. And you don't even need to use your defensives on the actual storms. You can use them on the golden circles, which is typically what I like to do. But yeah, hopefully this guide has been informative to you. Let me go ahead and go over to my hanging out screen. 1 second. Hopefully you guys have found this guide to be informative and helpful. This is definitely a very hard boss. It's definitely a boss that gave me a lot of struggles when I was first learning the class. I definitely remember my first few times going in there and kind of falling on my face, and my team kind of scratching their heads and feeling frustrated. And you know, it's part of the thing. You just have to progress some of these bosses as a healer, and a lot of that is of course doing research, which you're obviously doing right now, and just practicing. So if you fail the first time, don't worry about it. Get out there, do it again. Keep trying it until you get it right. Try different things. Try as many times as you need to. Eventually, you will be successful. Yeah. With that said, thanks for watching this guide. You guys are awesome. I really, really love you guys. My Twitch has been growing really, really quickly, and a lot of that is just because of awesome people like you. So yeah. Definitely make sure you're following my Twitch. If you're not, find me twitch.tv/eyelashtv. So long, suckers. Okay, bye this time.